What you take away from this is one, it was very obvious from I'm not saying it wasn't obvious on TV, but from our vantage point on at the stadium, it's very obvious Baylor was not taking the two safeties away all night.
Right.
They were not letting the receivers go wild. They knew the receiving core. One of my really good friends, Jacob, said they knew the aliens were out there on the wide edge and they're not letting them beat them. They knew that. They said it's not happening, and I think that's smart. Dave Aranda is an incredibly smart, defensive minded coach. I don't discount that at all, or don't discredit him for doing that at all. But I think what it showed you by not forcing it, because that happened at times last year, not forcing the receiving play to be on full display, shows you a little bit of step in growth and maturity from Auburn's offensive play callers and Hugh Freeze of just take what they give you. And if it's working, don't stop. Do whatever it takes to get wins. And you saw that in Hugh's press conference today, that's what they're going to do. Whatever the offense needs or whatever the offense is getting, that's what they're going to keep doing to end up on top at the end. So I thought it was a really smart way to go about it. I really liked the idea of mixing in the run game with Arnold, with Cobb, with Alston. They all had a very equal amount of reps and all produced. I think that speaks very highly of the offensive line. If you can't be encouraged about the offensive line after this, you might never be, because that is the best performance I've seen from an Auburn offensive line in a long time. And there's room for improvement, certainly, but the baseline seems a lot higher than it has been in previous years. Overall, I give them, an A-. I think I'm very happy with the offense. I thought that if the run game is how it's going to be for Auburn this year, and that's what it looks like, I think Auburn's going to be just fine.
Yeah. I'm going to go out not on a limb here. Austin, I'm giving them an A+.
There you
I
go.
am. Listen, I just got done saying don't overbuild things and stuff like that. But like I said, I find very little to be upset. The first drive was frustrating, really the first two, because we saw a sack immediately. But folks, that was the only sack the entire game for Auburn. Now, credit to Jackson Arnold for, running around for a little bit, and he was having to do that. And I was feeling it, kind of like, here we go again. But credit to the offensive line. Now, if you watch the post-game show, that you saw me kind of change my tune on the offensive line as I started seeing the stats and thinking about it. It's like, we forgot about them. That's what you're supposed to do, is forget about them, because they're doing their job. Everybody else is taking center stage. So that alone launches it into an A. Tight ends did well. Wide receivers, with what they were given opportunities to do, did well. Pass blocking as well. Running backs out. I say A+. I say A+. Now, on the defensive side, certainly we can go the opposite direction. Tackling, especially in the defensive back area, was very poor at times. They know it. Coaches know it. It's no shock. You don't have to say it 1,000 times in the comment sections on Facebook. We got it. You didn't like the tackling. None of us did. I think some of what feels frustrating is what we already talked about, the consistency with which they were going over the middle, underneath the DBs, with that pass, and with what it was happening. It felt like if we had locked that down, maybe this game could have been a little bit more in hand earlier. Now, mistakes also happened for Auburn on their part that kept them from other reasons from getting out ahead. But for me, I'm going to say defense. I don't want to go too drastic. I think you could go into a D range, but I'm going to just say C- right now. What do you think?
I was going to just go C. I think when hyping up the defensive secondary all off season and then seeing that kind of performance, it makes you feel uneasy. But I also think when you look at who you're playing, and I know a lot of fans wanted to snuff at Baylor and snuff at the Big 12 and whatever, but Baylor has a long history of pass happy offenses. And playmakers on the end, and they schemed up a great game against Auburn, and Auburn did not adjust to affect those crossing routes across the unders and let guys get behind them at times. So I think it's going to be a busy week of practice for Jay Crawford and I was going to say Champ Anthony, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Just for the secondary as a whole, of kind of figuring out, getting back to some technique, getting back to playing with some intensity that apparently they've been showing in practice, according to coach, and playing during the game. So, I'm not as worried yet. I truly think that Baylor has playmakers out there that gave Auburn fits and would, but the adjustments is what I want to see. I also think too, when you look at some of the big time plays, were really the bulk of that yardage that Baylor's picked up. The first touchdown they had, that was just a wide open to the guy who apparently was a game changer in the Iron Bowl, and I don't remember ever hearing that. But but announcers seem to be all over that
somehow.
just whatever. So I think the chunk plays made up a big bulk of that yardage. Now
Right.
it still happened, and it was still a legitimate thing you need to take care of, but overall, there's a lot of room for improvement. I was excited to see guys like Chris Murray, a transfer in, make a lot of impacts on the defensive line, the edge position. Keldrick Falk.
Yep.
That's not to just discount him, but it's just like, what else can that guy
he closed
do?
the game out on defense essentially for us. So I mean, like,
Closed
that's exactly
out.
what you do.
Chase guys down. He made a lot of draft tape in week 1, and I can't wait to see what he does the rest of the year. So there's plenty to improve on, but I think 24 is a little bit too much for the Auburn defense, and DJ Durkin knows that, and so the adjustments will be fun to see what come.
Yeah, it's a benchmark to go. So we can't let this happen again. Can't let this. I mean, if it does, we're going to find the offense obviously can keep up, but we can't put them in a position. We're still working, figuring out how this is going to go every week. Can't just assume everything's going to work that exact same way on offense. So obviously good benchmarks to start working from. Finally, just special teams really quickly. Lots of good stories here. I'm just going to give an A+ here as well. I'm just giving out the A+. Rayshon Pleasant goes yard and lives up to the hype that's been built all offseason. I mean, just absolutely unreal. And then the story, and even one of our viewers who's watching live has already pointed it out, of Alex McPherson getting to play and being 100%. Now, granted, they weren't the most difficult. It wasn't the most difficult field goal in the world. And I think that was by design and choice. But even looking outside of the other situations, I don't find any reason special teams to be upset at anything else. Anything you'd like to point out?
No, I thought from punting to kicking to returns, everything went well for Auburn on this from the special teams, if not above average. I thought Rayshon Pleasant, that was a moment in the game too where a lot of us were talking in the stands. If Auburn goes 3 and out right here, you get worried that things are swinging back the other way. Well, they never got a chance to get on the field because Pleasant went the distance. Just very well set up too by blocking, and obviously he made the run, but just a great job. And like you said, McPherson was not warming up as much out there when we got in the stadium, and I was concerned that things had really taken it worse for him. But to see him kind of overcome that and kick a field goal with a colostomy bag and all the things he's had to go through just to get back to that point is very inspiring, very cool. So I hope that is a sign of a long season he's able to see success in. I give it an A.
I mean, just from his effort and what he's having to deal with to be out there, heart alone, I probably would have put it in the A regardless, but just with that touchdown, A+,
absolutely.
A+.